Hello and welcome to this new tutorial. In the previous tutorial we imported the dataset. We now have the lines and the conversations in two separate datasets that we called conversations and lines. And now what we have to do is to create a dictionary that maps each line with its ID. So why do we have to do that? What is the purpose of doing this? Well, first of all, one of the best advice that I can give you for coding is to always understand where you come from and where you want to go. So we come from the previous tutorial where we imported the dataset, and now we need to understand where we want to go. And where we want to go, what we want to obtain in the end, is a dataset that contains basically two columns, the input and the output. Because the inputs will be the inputs that will be fed into the neural network, and the outputs will be the target. Because we will compare the target, that is the real reply replied by the characters, to the answer replied by the chatbot. And that's how the chatbot will learn to speak, whether its prediction is close to the target. So where we want to go is towards a dataset composed of input and output. And the way to do that, the easiest way to do this, is with the dictionaries, because we will have to keep track of the conversations to make a correct mapping between the inputs and the outputs. And by the way, this is a first dictionary that we're creating, but you're going to see that we will create many others. And besides knowing that we want to obtain such a structure, well, keep in mind that we will have to do a lot of cleaning, because in order for the training to go smoothly, well, the texts have to be as much cleaned as possible. They need to be simple, simplified as much as possible, and you will see that we will have some cleaning sub-phases in this data preprocessing phase. So that's why right now we need to first create a dictionary that will map each line with its ID, and let's start doing this right now in this tutorial. So to initialize or introduce a dictionary, we need to start like this. We need to first give it a name, and we're going to give it the following name. We want to map each line with its ID, so the key identifier of the dictionary will be the ID of the line, and the value will be the line itself. So since we map from the ID to the line, the following name we're going to give to our dictionary will be ID to line. ID to line. And to initialize a dictionary, you need to do it this way by introducing a pair of brackets, just like that. Alright, so dictionary initialized. And now, the common thing that happened afterwards, after initializing, is naturally a for loop. Because we're going to iterate through all the lines of our lines dataset. And for each of these lines, we're going to split first the line, because it is separated by the plus 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 dollar plus plus plus. We're going to split that into the different elements of the row. And then we will get the key, which is the first element. And then we will get the value, that is the line itself, which is the last element. If I open this again, well, this is what we will split, the value here. And the first element is this one, the ID, that we will map to the last element, which is this one. They do not. Okay? So let's do this. Let's start this for loop. So to start for loop, we start with for, of course. Then we need to give the loop variable, which we will call line, because we are iterating through the lines. So for line in lines, because our lines are in our lines dataset. Then colon, and then we enter the loop. So first, remember what we want to do. We want to, if I open this again, we want to split this, because we want to get this and this. So we want to split this whole value here, and we're going to split this by this string here, plus 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 dollar plus plus plus. And the way to do this is to first take the line, and I'm going to add an underscore here first, and that just means a temporary variable because it will actually not be used later. It's like a local variable that is only going to be used in the loop. So underscore line equals, and this is where I'm going to make the split. So I'm going to take my line, which is the loop variable, line dot split parenthesis, and then in the parenthesis we need to input what do we want to split by, and we want to split by the plus 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 dollar plus plus plus. So in quote, I'm gonna add space plus 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 dollar plus plus plus. There's a space because if you look closer, well, there is actually some spaces between the elements and this string here, plus, 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 dollar, plus, plus, plus. All right, so be careful with that. So that makes the split. And then we're going to get what we want, that is the line ID and the line itself, that is the text. But just for safety purpose, we're going to make sure that the line has the correct length, which should be 5. You know, if we open this again, well, each line should have 5 elements. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We just need to make sure of that, otherwise we will get some shifting issue, and that could be bad. So in order to avoid this shifting issue, it's better to only get the IDs and the lines for the lines that have for sure 5 elements. And it's okay if we lose some lines. So let's press OK. And so, as we said, if the length of the line, the temporary local variable line, is equal to 5, well, what do? We're going to get the key identifier, which is the line ID, and the value, which is the line itself, the line set by the character. And there is actually a trick to do that in one line. We simply need to take our dictionary that was introduced as ID to line, and then in brackets, we can enter the key here, which is line 0, and then to get the value, but not only get the value, but also to do the mapping at the same time, we simply need to add here equal the value itself, which is line, and which element of the line? Well, if we look at this again, you know, the key identifier is this, and the value is this. They do not, and that's the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4th element. And I'm counting from 0 because indexes in Python start at 0. So be careful, it's the 4th index and not the 5th index, and therefore here I'm entering 4. And that gives my dictionary, that creates my dictionary that maps each line ID with its text. So let's check that. Let's check if everything's okay, and let's have a look at our dictionary. So pressing Command and Control plus Enter to execute. There we go. Dictionary ID2 line created. As you can see, it was recognized by Python directly as a dictionary. And if we double click on it, yes. If we double click on it, well, we get our dictionary with, in the first column here, the key identifier, as I told you, and in this column here, the value, which is the line itself set by the character. So for example, if we take this line here, well, the line is, you know, I can talk about that. That's the value of the dictionary, and it has the key identifier L 100,006. So there are a lot of lines, but there we go. We got our dictionary. That's perfect. And that will be very useful for us to then get this special structure of the dataset that I spoke of at the beginning of this tutorial. Perfect. So now we're ready to move on to the next step, which is to create a list of all the conversations with the IDs as we got in the conversations dataset. And we want to do that, of course, because we need to keep track of the conversations for the training data. So we'll see that in more details in the next tutorial, and until then, enjoy Deep NLP.